again, who are we? What are we here for? I mean, because we're not here just to, you know, make money and die.
Yeah. What a beautiful day outside. Sounds like a good day to travel. Whoa, cut it. Man, I legit don't have no plan for this. I don't even know what I'm doing. But with the help of this, I'll be able to create my travel map.
Hola, konnichiwa. Welcome. Nice to meet you. Hello, my name is Kamahra Ewing. I'm a senior lecturer in the Irvin D. Reed Honors College at Wayne State University. And I'm originally from Columbia, Maryland. Went to high school in Lansing, Michigan.
Well, hello. It's nice to meet you. So,
Nice to meet you as well.
So for my first question, what are some interesting customs and cultures from other countries that you saw during your travel?
So, interesting cultures, I would think, I think Japan had a lot of interesting customs and cultures, also in India. I feel like even in the United States we have interesting customs and cultures, so coming from a person, based on my background, I was raised macrobiotic, which is a Japanese monk diet, so often the cultural items that I would bring to school would stand out and was different from the traditional American diet of peanut butter and jelly.
Could you give me an example of it?
So, for example, I would have brown rice sushi rolls and bring them to school. And I was highly embarrassed at the time, or even when I did have the peanut butter and jelly, it wasn't peanut butter and jelly, it was like whole wheat with peanut butter and honey. So just, or what was it? What's the other thing? Tahini, like my mom, they used to make tahini sandwiches and nobody knew what tahini was. Tahini and honey sandwiches. And different things that a lot of times did not fit into the traditional American settings. So when I look at other cultures in the same way, I think of insider-outsider perspectives. And so, I mean, even though it seemed that the Japanese culture was very different, but then once you're accustomed to it, it seemed totally natural and normal. So. But I totally appreciate the spas in Japan and the cenotes in Mexico, like the hot water springs, and just different things all around the world. A lot of beautiful cultures and cultural traditions.
Yeah, but what are some like universal problems that you see going around?
Universal problems? Yeah. Well, I think that...
It's pretty big, yeah.
Yeah, right. Very huge question. Universal problems, I think one of the universal problems is people not getting to know who they are themselves and not becoming accustomed to their inner self. And so I think people look for external things. So for example, in Japan, people would commit suicide left and right. I used to work in a diamond factory teaching English. And there was a woman that was like 80 years old, ended up setting herself on fire because she was miserable. So a lot of times in this world, especially, so supposedly they would say that Japan was like 20 years ahead of where America is right now in terms of culture and just customs. So the thing is, like, when we make our jobs and we make our material things, or we make other things that are not really priority in life, often on the inside we're miserable. And so if we don't actually, it's almost like the bird in the cage, you know, so if we keep on polishing the beautiful cage, but not actually going deeper and actually feeding the bird's gonna die. You're gonna feel miserable. So you see these extreme instances around the world where, especially in Japan, it was obvious, like, 11 o'clock at night, I would come home on the train, and normally, I work late, no problem, but there was like a whole crew of businessmen coming home at the same time, There, they only spend like 3 hours a week with their family, so, I mean, that's not living at all, in my opinion. So it's, what was your question again? Because I feel like I streamed into like several different topics.
I mean, I think that was fine. It was just like, what are some universal problems?
Universal problem, definitely. Getting to know, oneself is like important. If not, like you think these things that you're doing or you think these outcomes are your real reality when it's not. This is all temporary. Friends, family, everything is temporary. Who are you and what are you here for? That's the most important thing, and once you're able to figure that out, then everything else flows.
Alright, so let's head into your past a bit. So, like, did you have any, like dream or ambition when you, like, growing up? Like, say, like, back in, like, school days or, like, high school or stuff like that?
So, when I was, so in high school. Alright, so when I was in high school, I think I woke up, because I transitioned. So for me, like transitioning from Maryland to Michigan was like huge. So that was in 8th grade, and so I was coming from like an all-white rural area in Maryland, which is definitely old South Line. It's the South, and then to move to like Lansing, Michigan, where they had half black, half white. So culturally, it was just completely different. So in terms of like where I wanted to be, I think I wanted to be a business. At the time, I switched from like engineering to business to hotel management, something along those lines. All I knew is that I wanted to travel and see the world. That was the only thing, and I love cultures and languages and people, so, but that can be applied to any field, practically, just about.
So like, what were some challenges and hardships you faced when you grew up? Did you have any like bad, societal influences or something like that?
Growing up in Maryland, given that I was an African American female in a predominantly white area, definitely difficult at times. I was told that because I had friends in like 4th grade, and then all of a sudden no one wanted to speak to me, no one wanted to talk to me because their parents said that I was not a good person because I was black. And they would say it in other ways. So, just learning, like, I would, like, be called African Bush Boogie. And then I would go home, and then my dad's like, don't allow them to call you that. Call them European caveman. Come back. Don't allow yourself to be bullied, and understand, your history and also your positionality, and don't let them take advantage of you. So I think, like, and then so I had that. So you had the white and black. And then I had different cultural aspects. Like, so my parents practiced different faiths, and we were exposed to many different spiritual traditions. So just like having these different things, and normally like all Christian area was definitely a different way of living, I guess.
And what was your first big trip out of the country?
First big trip was for me, Mérida, Mexico. So that was for like a senior trip. So it's not too far, but it's still like, it just opened up my eyes, and I realized I just wanted more. Like as soon as I did that 1 week in Mexico, I had to study abroad again, and I could not wait to actually live in another country.
And did you have any challenges when you did your first big trip, or was this like chill and you just got out?
The challenges, okay, so I'm going to jump to like the first time. So I ended up actually living in Mérida, Mexico for like 5 months, 4 or 5 months. And so there, it was definitely challenging to not be able to, communicate in the way that I wanted to. I could speak Spanish much better than most of my classmates, but still, culture and just like, you can understand the textbook Spanish, but colloquial Spanish is definitely different in each region and actually each country. So definitely was like frustrating, and I had more empathy for people that were bilingual students in America or bilingual speakers, because even if you do know a language, it's just difficult, and it's hard to actually, you want to be able to speak in the way that you're normally accustomed, and so to feel that you have to speak like a baby, especially in Japan, that was also the case. It's like, I want to be able to express and explain myself, but I feel like I'm talking like a 2-year-old, which is frustrating, even though you can understand me. So yeah, definitely.
And was there any like trip or / event that had changed you significantly, or some trip and event that you feel passionate about? So anything that made like a big difference on you, so to speak.
Okay, so I mean, I feel like living in Ecuador for about 9 months, and then also traveling to Colombia, I feel like that was my time. Like, I almost passed away during that time, and so like I was seeing certain signs, but I didn't want to change with the signs, and so there was more basically figuring out through education, like, what is my purpose? What am I here for? And how am I supposed to align myself in the world? I feel like Bangladesh opened up my eyes in terms of people and just seeing like genuinely happy, loving people in a small package. So I had like 3 weeks. I was visiting India, and so I was invited to go on like they called it Gunga Safari. But it was like basically a tour, and it's kind of a pilgrimage or parikrama around Bangladesh, and seeing certain, we'll say, bhakti yoga communities. And so through these communities, just seeing like, one, the tradition of Gaudiya Vaishnavism, and just seeing the roots of it, and seeing like the people genuinely, people had nothing. And like, they didn't know where I was from, but just because I was associated with certain people, they were giving me money. And I was just like, just like, it was so heartwarming. And so like there I was doing theater and practicing different things and singing and dancing, so doing different things like that. But being able to also do service, and so I feel like Bangladesh was just like, well, I think it was also voted like years ago one of the happiest countries in the world. And I mean, that could be debated, but definitely I could see why. Like, the people were just so loving, and I'm always like, Ami Bangla Bolabashi. Love Bangladesh.
On a side note, how can you like pronounce these like countries so well? Like, I mean, you got like the straight up like true name, so to speak.
Well, I mean, I've been immersed in certain communities for a long time.
So then they
so like, I'm a Gaudiya Vaishnava, or a Bhakti Yoga practitioner, so like, I mean, half of our, I would say, texts are in Sanskrit, and then Hindi sometimes, and then also Bengali. So.
And how did traveling define who you are today? How did it like make you become the person who you are?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like, I forgot who said it. A famous philosopher said that traveling is the best education. I mean, the whole thing is like, when you're confronted with yourself, you don't have your normal circumstances, and this happens when you move, but when you're outside of your home culture, like, everything that you believe is challenged, everything that you see is challenged, and you're constantly forced to rethink what you think is normal and what you think is traditional and what you think is accepted. So if I say like the water, I think, what is it? Yeah, I think in Japan, like, they say the water is black, and I'm like, no, it's blue, because I've been trained to see it as blue, but then I'm looking at it, I'm like, here it actually does look black. Okay, why do they see the sun as red? Okay, when the sun rises and sets in Japan, it really does look red, so just like conceptualizing, even just to like live on an island and just completely see the world differently based on your geographical locations. It matters, and it changes your whole reference and your whole paradigm of thinking about and conceptualizing the world. So I think, yeah, because the whole thing is just like, challenge yourself. And maybe it's because I've always had to challenge myself, or even when I didn't want to challenge, but I think that's the most fun thing to do, because when you're challenged, you're one, going to go deeper into whatever you do believe, and you also learn a lot more, and you realize we're all one. So it's not like, so you have different cultural packages around the world, but you realize people are people, and no matter where you're going to attract certain people depending on your consciousness, your mood, and your demeanor. So you're gonna find your people wherever you go, once you learn the language. No, even when you don't, you still attract them. So it's fascinating to see that, no matter where you go, you still end up in certain communities or, with certain people. So it's very fascinating.
And if you never traveled, what are some things you would have lost?
Oh, my
that's
goodness.
A deep question.
I mean, I feel like I would not have been able to progress in, many facets of my life. I know if I were not able to travel, I would totally take advantage of the different ethnic groups and different resources that we have within the United States, because America is like we're so lucky. Like, you know, we're so lucky because we if we want to, we can easily challenge ourselves to go next door and learn about a whole different world, you know, or learn about a whole different customs, systems, beliefs. We can do that through music, through videos, through, I mean, I guess the internet right now. So if you're not able to leave your country, right now you can like enter other people's reality through YouTube. You know, there's so many different ways right now to challenge yourself, challenge your way of believing and seeing the world, that there's no excuse to remain ignorant, you know? So, I mean, even if I didn't travel, I would be doing other things to make sure that I'm exposed to different lines of thinking, you know, and understand who are we? What are we here for? I mean, because we're not here just to, you know, make money and die. Yeah. We're here for a deeper reason. So, I mean, for me, like, I feel like traveling reinforced that, and like you just constantly see your reflections and see on things, you know, things and ways that we need to grow and learn and continue, you know, prospering in different ways.
And like before we end the story for today, can you give some advice to people who may be watching this story right now?
So my mother told me when I was in high school that there was no way on earth I was going to be able to go overseas. I didn't have money, I didn't have anything, and there's no way. Even though her father told her if she had the faith of the mustard seed, and she told me that when I was younger, so I don't know why she didn't apply that. but if you have faith in the mustard seed, everything is possible. So do not limit yourself because of financial constraints. Do not limit yourself because of anything. If you have a desire, so like when I first entered undergrad, I had like a huge board on my wall, and I said, okay, I'm going to travel to, I think I said Mexico, China, and then I said somewhere else in the world, I cannot remember now. I ended up going to 3 different places. They were not the exact places that I wanted to go, but I ended up going, you know, Japan was not China, but it was somewhere close, you know? So like if you envision what you want, things will come to you, opportunities will come to you, and if they don't come to you, you knock on everybody's door to get yourself funded. So like I didn't have the money, but I walked department to department, building to building, you know, looking for funding, because I'm like, there's no way that like I'm gonna stay, especially like in undergrad, you have the opportunity to take classes that you're gonna have to take. If you have to take those classes, take them overseas. Don't stay in America and do it. You know, if you have internships to take them overseas. You know, if you already speak one language, learn another language. You know, broaden your horizons, or also maximize, you know, that language that you do speak so that you have more opportunities to be able to do whatever you want. So, I mean, you never know how all these things will align, you know, and definitely so. If you believe that you want to go, everything is possible. So the whole thing is, to me, like, believe in yourself and believe in your ideas, and do not limit yourself before you even get started. Everything is possible. If you want it to happen, it can happen, and you'll find ways to do it. Definitely.
All right, and thank you for telling the story.
Yeah, thank you. The moral of the story would be, do not let yourself stop anything that you're interested in. So understand that impossible is only in the Fool's Dictionary. Everything is possible if you put your mind to it. And understand that if you really want to do something, you're going to find out how to get it done, and you're going to find out how to make everything possible. But you have to believe in yourself, believe in your ideas, and believe in what you want to do. Also, make sure that you don't waste this life in just frivolous things. Get to know the inner you, because the inner you is the real you. All this other stuff will come and go and fade, just like winter and summer seasons. So do not be alarmed, and dive deep. Figure out who you really are, and figure out what really makes you happy. And the only thing that's really going to make you happy in this world is if you have a strong connection with the higher self, which may be God in different languages. God, Krishna, Buddha, Yahweh, Jehovah, Allah, whatever you call them, it doesn't matter, it's all one. And understanding that as people we are also one will allow you to really love your sisters and brothers around the world. So definitely make sure that you take advantage of this human birth that you have, and explore, ask questions, and really find out your purpose and why you have been created, and take advantage of every opportunity opportunity to grow and never stop growing and learning, because that's what it's all about. One of the keys that I have learned is basically at the time of death, whatever you're thinking about is where you're going to end up going. So make sure that you're thinking about wherever you want to go, but hopefully in a spiritual place, or God, or whatever you call it. But definitely make sure at the time of death, so those last thoughts is basically what creates the next body. So choose it wisely.